I'm really, really excited about tonight. Um, I have become such close friends with Brynn over it hasn't even been a full year yet since we met through working together. And I gotta say, it's really interesting, this new way of doing business where people can be anywhere in the world and you can immediately feel like family. Like you just have that closeness where you feel like you can be yourself. And I really think it's the people that we attract into this community. Brynn has the most incredible soul. She is a brilliant businesswoman. In the short time I've known her, I have been wowed over and over again at her age to have such a solid confidence and such a solid approach to her life, her business, how she treats people. It's very, I mean this in the most loving way, it's very predictable. You're very steady. And I think that that's one of your reasons for your success, because you seem very level-headed. So I work with Brynn right now. She is the magician behind the scene for our social media. She helps us, supports us in a lot of our different work. And in turn, Brynn has done some work with me about her goals and about what she's working towards. And my God, you want to meet somebody who dreams big, get to know this gal. And tonight, it's kind of a mix of telling you about her social media management company, but also about her as a business owner. So if either of those things kind of pique your interest, definitely I've come up with a bunch of questions, and some of them are to see what she'll say, but I want you to come up with any that you might have as well. Okay, Brynn, I adore you. I'm going to let you do a lot of the talking, I promise, but I wanted you to start by giving us a little introduction about yourself and your journey in the field of social media and how you got started.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. That was like a really nice introduction. I was not expecting that, so thank you. I mean, of course I'm expecting that from you, but I'm just like, wow, those were nice words. Anyways, yeah, I'm Brynn. I'm really happy to be here. Obviously, yeah, like Kate said, we've become, pretty close over this last, I guess, 10 months-ish, of working together. So that's been really nice. And also, like she said, like it's really nice meeting people, obviously online and stuff like that, but we've been lucky enough to actually live in the same city. So I'm not sure where the rest of you guys are from, but that's also been really nice to connect on like the actual like in-person level too. So I've been very grateful for that. But yes, I am the founder and CEO of Neula Marketing Agency. So we are a social media marketing agency. We specialize in TikTok and Instagram management, more on the organic side, so less of like ads and paid content. We do that as well. But organic strategy is kind of like our bread and butter. I guess a little bit on me. I am 22 years old. I turned 23 in a few months. I started my business at 2020, 21. I should know this. One of those two ages. I actually can't remember which one it was. Kind of like a little bit on my background. After graduating high school, I went to college, studied business for a couple of years. I did a 2-year diploma instead of a full degree because I really wanted to just like get going and get working. So I did that here at Red River College in Winnipeg. After that, I was offered a marketing manager position. So I did that for a year and a half. That was really like a manifested position. You'll see there's a lot of stuff that's kind of like come into my life based on me really attracting it and planning it out. I'm sure Kate will ask questions that get into that. And after that, I decided to just go right into it, launch my own agency. I've always been very interested in entrepreneurship, really knew I wanted to have my own business, but being in that job, the corporate job, it was very comfortable. And I really had to push myself to take that next leap. And, I did it pretty young, didn't have connections, didn't have any social platform built up, any of that. But I'd say in the last year and a half of me owning the agency, it's been pretty successful, which I'm like very, very proud of and happy I took the leap with. So that's like a little bit on me, I guess, to kick things off.
So I'm curious, when you think about the decision to make the leap to going on your own, was there something that happened? Was there like an inner knowing? Was there a situation? Like, what was the trigger for you to actually make the jump?
I think the biggest thing is I was seeing, so like the job that I had, especially for being like a 20-year-old, was a really, really good position. It was one that, there's people who are further along in their career who dream of having the type of title and whatever that I had, which it's not super relevant, but I was in, on paper, a very good place. And I think with that, I had a lot of people who were, like really like hyping me up about it, which was really cool. But I kind of felt within, I was like, this doesn't really seem like everything that I am like destined for. Like I knew that there was more. And it did feel a little bit limiting too. I personally am one, like I love working with my clients, but I don't really like someone kind of like above me, I guess, like telling me what to do. Like I kind of like having control over my schedule and what's happening and like the type of work that I'm doing. And like really creating my, like obviously work is a really big part of most people's lives. So I wanted to make it something that I felt very impactful doing. And that really lit me up. I think there was one moment, I can't remember exactly when it happened, but I realized that as an employee of my boss, he was also the owner of the company. I was kind of fulfilling his dream, but I wasn't doing that for myself. And so in my mind, then that's where I flipped it. And I was like, you know what, if I can be the business owner, and like I said before, I had the entrepreneurship mindset and stuff like that beforehand. So I think that was kind of like a clicking moment where I realized that if I could flip that and if I could become like the boss and the owner of the company, that then I could more create for myself instead of for someone else.
Okay, that's really interesting. So it was like just a build up? Because even did you see other examples of people who were making the leap, or you just had this like blind faith in yourself?
Yeah, honestly, I didn't know basically any business owners at the time. When I quit, I went into it with zero business experience. I had literally no idea what I was doing. So no, I actually didn't really have anyone else to like look at and see them do it. It really was kind of just like a leap of faith, and it was more just something that I was in a really good position to do it. I was young, I was living at home. I had a skill set that I knew could be profitable. And I was just like, let's just do it. So yeah, there honestly wasn't a certain moment or someone that I saw do it. It was kind of just a buildup of thinking about how I wanted my life to be and knowing that I had to make some change to get where I wanted to be.
Well, as one of your current clients, I got to tell you, I'm so happy that you made the leap and that you are out there for people to work with because you're incredible. Could you give us a little bit more specifics on what are the types of clients or industries that you typically work with?
So my agency is not super, super niche down in terms of specific industries. For the most part, it's just so happened that a lot of my clients are service-based businesses. So that could be, ones like Kate, so kind of like coach more based. We have personal trainers, realtors, financial advisors. What else do we even have? I'm blanking right now. But we also have a few product-based influencers as well. So like personal brands, but kind of all over the place, but more so service-based than product-based just at the moment. It's literally just how the cookies crumbled. Honestly, though, I think I told Kate this at first when we started working together too, because she asked me this. And for the most part, I honestly just go off a vibe. And I do this for my hires. I do this for my clients. I do this for everyone. I'm not honestly like super specific on industry. I'm more specific on who the person is and what their vision is behind the company. Because if someone really believes in what they're providing, it's going to be so much more fun to market for them and work with them. So that's honestly the main thing that I go off of when I'm choosing my clients.
Interesting. That is really interesting because it makes sense. People like to be around people who know where they're going. I couldn't imagine working with someone who also didn't know who they were or what they were doing or what they were trying to offer. Okay, so I wanted to just talk to you a bit, like putting on just the entrepreneur hat and your decision-making process. So I just want to know what kind of factors do you consider when you're making decisions about your own business? Like what really matters to you when you're making business decisions about your strategy, about what your expenses are? How do you approach that?
So honestly, one of the first things that I always looked at, or more so at this point in my business, I do have employees, so I have people working for me. So honestly, the first thing that probably goes through my mind is honestly them. At the end of the day, being able to, like, I have extra people that I need to provide for now too. Losing a client or something like that, it doesn't just impact me, it impacts my people. And obviously I really, really care about them. So I'd say that thinking down to the rest of my team is probably the first thing that I would do, and just make sure, see how that impact would affect them. But in general, I always have a pretty good idea of where my business is going in terms of what I'm trying to accomplish in, like, let's say a quarter, for example. So anytime that there's, an expense that I'm looking at or changing things up, I really look at what my goal is for, like, my end goal, and see, how that could either just change the trajectory a little bit or change the path, or if it's, going to not allow me to hit that. So honestly, I think pretty big with pretty much every thing that I do, and I just make sure that it still aligns with the goal that I kind of have at the end.
Would you say that you are a quick decision maker, or are you a slow decision maker?
Extremely quick. Maybe too quick at times. I do things very, very fast, like pretty much just on the fly.
I'm very similar, so I appreciate that type of approach.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that you're gonna have a quick answer for this based on our work together. But what are the values that are most important to you when it comes to your company? So when you think about the value that your company provides, what are some of the top things that come up for you right away?
Definitely being a reliable company. I try to always make sure that my clients are very much taken care of. I know that I feel very grateful to have staff that are very close to me, but also to actually have, like, a little bit of a smaller, more intimate agency right now. Because I really feel like we are able to give our clients more time and attention than maybe some other competitors. And I'm also very happy that I'm able to have that standpoint too. Sometimes founders and CEOs are so out of the business that, like, you never see them or anything like that. So I really value being able to, like, actually have that personal connection with all of my clients. Like, me and Kate are on calls literally every single week, and it's great.
Yeah.
So that's probably one of the best things. And honestly, I think the other really big thing is being, like, able to be very trustworthy. I try to be very open and honest about absolutely everything. If something's not working, I'm just gonna, like, tell it how it is. I really don't try to beat around the bush. People understand numbers, and everyone that I'm working with are business people. So everyone gets what's happening. So I try to be very straight up, open and honest. And yeah, I'd say those are probably some of our biggest things.
You know what I would think, to me, isn't apparent as one of the values that comes across, is that you don't steamroll your clients. Like, you take their input at every
Oh yeah, for
stage.
sure.
And I think that that is important, because I think there's some businesses out there that think they know better than you for your business. But anyway, I
100%.
think a value is, like, hearing your client and what they want to get across as well.
Yeah,
Okay, so now
totally.
I was wondering if you could tell us, so far in your long career of being an entrepreneur, what is the biggest win you've experienced? The biggest, like, holy smokes, I can't believe that happened.
Biggest win. See, that's so hard, and it almost goes back to, like, setting some of these goals and then actually celebrating them. I was actually having a conversation the other day that I'm so bad at celebrating wins. And I think that a lot of business owners are, honestly, they kind of just, like, brush it under as if it wasn't this huge thing. Probably I would say, like, looking back, my biggest win, when I left my corporate job, my first goal was to at least make what I was making there. So when I hit that, that was nice. And I remember it was even just, like, growing up, it was kind of, like, instilled in my mind. It's like, if you can make $10,000 a month, like you're golden. Like, this is crazy. So I remember when I started, I was like, if I can make $10,000 a month, this is going to be wild. And so when I hit my first 10K month, I remember that being just, I was like, wow, okay. But also it was not nearly, like, the end of that goal. Like, it's just kept getting bigger and bigger. But I do remember that was probably, like, a pretty pivotal moment. I was like, okay, like, this is very possible. And, it didn't change much. Like, I mean, obviously it didn't change anything about me, or, maybe my lifestyle got a tad bit nicer, but, it was definitely a big moment though, because it was kind of a number that was, like, always in the back of my head.
It's kind of like that proof to yourself that you're going in the right
Exactly.
direction. It's happening.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Well, sometimes I find that this is even more important. But since you've been in business, if you're willing to be this vulnerable, what is the biggest fail? What is the biggest mistake that you made that
Biggest
making
mistake.
quick decisions, trusting your gut, and it did not turn out the way you wanted, but you learned a lot from it?
Hmm. I would say their biggest fail. One thing that comes to mind, so I haven't had many, we retain clients quite well. And if they do end up leaving, it's not for reasons that are within our capacity or like they're not happy with our work or something. I'm honestly like not good friends, but like I still keep in touch with most of even like my previous clients. So we all have really good relationships. I do remember though, there was one and it was really, I said before, like I went into business with zero business background or experience. Like obviously I was in business school, but it's so different. Like being in school versus running a business is entirely different. And I remember when I was kind of figuring out how to scale and like, do I hire people? Do I just like swamp myself with work? And I remember I was in a stage where I think I was pretty like client hungry. It was kind of closer to that like 10K mark. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like if I sign one more person, I'm gonna hit it. And I was just like a little bit above myself. And I did bring on one client, and I just remember that I did not have the time or capacity to perform for them.
Mm.
And it was just me at the time. And I was very unhappy with like the quality of work that I put out, and I did lose that client. I think that's actually the only client that I've like lost. So I think it was a big fail, but at the same time, it was a very big learning opportunity because since then I have obviously learned to hire before I need to. And make sure that I'm not swarming myself, and especially not just for like a little bit of extra cash to hit that certain like 10K goal or whatever. So that's probably what honestly like the biggest fail that I've had, but the learnings that came from it are obviously way bigger.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I feel like it's a lot of that. It's like a back and forth where you try things and then you course correct along the way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's really good, especially to realize your own, not shortcomings, but your own boundaries. Because some
Yeah.
people are wanting to work themselves to death into the middle of the night because they're all about the buck, and that makes them feel alive. But other people
Yeah.
I need a lot of recharge time. If
Yeah.
you're going to serve people with everything you've got, like you can get emotional or mental exhaustion. It's just the same as
Oh
doing a
yeah.
hard workout where it's just
Oh
like, I
yeah.
need to lay down for a bit.
Yeah.
So I
No,
think that's good, but you wouldn't know unless you tried it unless you did that to yourself.
100%. Yeah.
Okay. And just wondering, so this is kind of about the industry of social media and marketing, but from your perspective, do you see any big trends coming in the future? Are you hearing about anything changing as far as where people should show up for business?
I personally, I mean, some people might call my opinion a slight bit biased because my agency is all TikTok and Instagram focused, but I really do think that those are like the biggest and most prominent platforms that will continue that way. Um, they They're two of the platforms that I basically recommend literally any business to get on. Um, Obviously there's other platforms like LinkedIn, Facebook, X, which is Twitter. I don't know why they redid that.
Yeah.
Anyways, all of those, I think that they can really relate to certain niches and certain audiences, but across the board, I mean, I always recommend Instagram, but TikTok usually can apply too. In terms of certain trends, honestly, the biggest thing that I could like predict like pretty confidently is that authentic content is going to continue taking over. In the past few years, there's been a lot of curated stuff, and I think people are really realizing how fake social media is, honestly.
Yeah.
A lot of influencers, brands, and just people in general. I mean, social media in general, especially on a personal level, is a highlight reel. Like, let's all be honest with that. But I think that a lot of people are starting to realize the benefit of like showing more truth and authenticity.
Mhm.
So even how that relates to brands in terms of I push for UGC, which is user generated content, a lot more than influencer collabs sometimes, just because it feels more authentic, realistic, and relatable. So I think the more relatable content is really where things are going to be headed. And then obviously within each certain platform, there's always little trends and stuff that go on that will kind of have that viral push for a little bit. But overall, I think that relatability is going to be a really, really big thing coming in the next little bit.
Yeah, there was something you told me too, which I have to work on is it disruptive? Or there was something that you said that's good to share.
What's the word? For brands, like, is it aggravating content? Is that the one I was talking about?
I think so. Like something that it's not that it's controversial, but kind of like
Yeah.
you're calling people out for something that like you have a solution for, but you're kind of saying what the issue is. Is that how you
Yeah,
describe it?
exactly. So yeah, I can't even think of the word that I would have said to you. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but yes, for a lot of, especially I'd say service-based businesses, when you're not selling a physical product that you can just like show a picture of, or like demonstrate it in motion, there's definitely different ways that you can use messaging to really relate to the customer and basically like call them out. Because obviously like some people, they will just continue scrolling and you'll just be another post on the feed unless they're like, oh, like crap, like that, like you're calling me out. So definitely that type of content is, I think, also going to continue to be really big. But I'd say that relates specifically more to like some businesses than others, but yes, 100%.
Yeah. I love content that makes me go like, oh my God, I feel seen when it like
Yeah.
mocks something or it does something
Yeah.
silly that I know I'm guilty of. I think those are hysterical usually, but
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. So I just have two more questions. And then guys, if you have your own questions, please do bring them up. But
Mhm.
one of the things was, how do you see yourself really building and maintaining strong relationships with your clients when you're dealing with different dynamics and different industries and trying to understand their vision, but also understanding what might be needed from them? How do you personally see yourself building and maintaining that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think the biggest thing that I always try to do is like I still am on every single client like facing call. And I really want to continue doing that as long as I can. Obviously, like I know that there is going to be a point in my agency where, other people are going to have to start taking some of that over. But for now, I'm very happy to be able to talk with my clients front facing every single week. I do block 2 days in my calendar every single week that are literally basically specifically for like client work, client calls, and all of that. So having that dedicated time allows me to do that. And yeah, I mean, like Kate would know from like firsthand experience, but I always just try to ask and see like what they're like. I want to know like how they're feeling. Like, do they feel that the content's authentic? Especially with service-based businesses, a lot of them are personal brands. Like obviously Kate's we're representing her. And so it's really important to make sure that she actually feels like the content could be coming from her. You don't ever want to be feeling that you can't relate to your content. So being able to talk on a one-on-one, like on that level, is really important. But then obviously in the back of my mind, I always have strategy too. But I think honestly, just the biggest thing is being able to talk it through with my clients every single week is probably the biggest thing to maintain those connections. But Kate, I mean, if you have other things though from a client side, you
No,
tell
you
me
know
what's
what?
really good.
I I can't remember if this is you. I did work with another company before working with Brynn. So, and I became quite close with them as well. But I remember having a really hard time and just like in business. And then when you're a solopreneur, sometimes it's like you're alone in processing a lot. So the people who are working with you, even as freelance, they kind of become your family. But was
Yeah.
it with you that I started crying?
Um, I don't
I
think you
think.
have, but you probably got close to it. That might have.
Okay. I just remember having some meltdown moments, and at times, the different people that you work with can become like your therapist.
Oh,
So it's
100%.
nice when small businesses work with other small businesses because they can relate. So sometimes I
Yeah.
could be having a meltdown about something like a payment system or something to do with the website. It's just nice to be able to work with Brynn and she can understand, like, yeah, this can be frustrating, or oh, this is what I've done in the past. So it's just
Yeah.
something to think about
100%.
when you're thinking about working with other teams. If you're creating something, that just remember they're also going through business so they can relate. And usually that open transparency, it helps you bond and it helps you like communicate better.
Yeah.
All
I guess
right.
on that too,
So
obviously just I try to be very transparent with my clients, even like you said about business in general. Like if you ask me a question and I don't know it, I'll be like, yeah, I have zero clue. Like, I'm so sorry. But I also, same thing, like if Kate's like, hey, I don't know how to use this on like Stripe, even though like I don't do that exact service for her, but I'll be like, oh, I use Stripe all the time. Like, here this is. So I think having, yeah, kind of that mentality has also helped that too.
Yeah. I love that. Because same, if I ever know of a resource or a tool or something that I learned, I can't wait to tell another business owner.
Yeah.
And then just to see their excitement, I'm like, yeah. All right. So this is my last question. I think it might be one of the hardest ones for you, or maybe it's one of the easiest. So can you share
Okay.
either a name or the name of a business of your favorite client? Your
Kate Hansen
favorite
Co.
client. I was like, is she gonna seriously give me a name? I didn't see that coming.
Is this
No, honestly, I think that this is so great. Part of the reason, guys, that I really wanted Brynn to speak with us, she is a master at manifesting. This is somebody who decides what she wants and she attracts it. Like when we talk about the experiences that we have in life and about the opportunities, they don't just happen by accident. It's when people are intentional and they've done the thinking work on what they want and where they're going. And I know Brynn's also an advocate of working with coaches. I've always worked with coaches. So I think it's really good to have somebody outside of you because they can see things that you don't see because you're in it every day. And this can be on all aspects of your life. So now I'm going to just open this up. If you guys have any questions for Brynn, like let's just hit her with them. Anything to do with like business or
I'm
mindset.
literally open book. Yeah.
She's fascinating. Honestly, she's got some great experience. So do you guys have anything that comes to mind?
And like literally anything. I'm honestly super transparent. I'm a complete open book about anything. So like there's nothing that's too like, I don't know, touchy. So
Watch.
yeah. Yeah, no, literally anything.
Yubia, do you have a question?
I have a whole list for Brynn.
Oh my
Ooh.
gosh. I love it. Interview round 2. Let's go.
Um, well, my first question was like, what was your when you said you because I've worked with corporate too, and that's what I told Kate. I was like, you know what, I'm done working with corporate world now. I wanna be my own boss and be my stress free and not be like saying yes boss every single time.
Amazing.
So like I want to be the business owner, and then when you were talking, I feel and I was nodding yes. That's what I want to do. Yes, that's what I want to do.
I love that.
So my first initial question would be just a very basic, generic one. Like, how did you know what was your first step of your like your journey of entrepreneurship? Like, what was your first, very, very first baby step? Like, what came to
Mhm.
you as your first step? Okay, this is my first step.
Yeah. I guess going like way, way back into it. So honestly, for a while, even though I had background in marketing and all of that, I for some reason had it ingrained in my mind that I did not want to have a marketing agency. I don't know why. Like I love marketing, but I was like, I'm not owning an agency. I'm not being one of those people, which like here I am. Anyways, so for a while I went through like brainstorming so many different business ideas. So like I would say in general, having a good idea of like what exactly you're wanting to do would be a really, really good first step. They're now being, into it for a bit. There's definitely like I wouldn't recommend the exact sequence that I did. Like I went and spent like a month building a website that no one goes on anyways because I just promote on social, and decided that I couldn't start my business until I incorporated, even though it literally does not matter at first. So there's a lot of steps that I wouldn't recommend taking the exact ones that I did. I think that having a really clear-cut vision though is a really, really good place to start. So knowing what you want to be doing, whether that's a product, a service, or like whatever it is. And then also saying, looking even like, let's say 5 years out and being like, what do I want to get out of this? Like, what do I want my life to look like? And I really believe in kind of like going to your end goal and working backwards. It's a lot easier to think of the steps in that way. So I know that that's kind of like a lot to think about, but I'd say that getting your idea and then saying where you want to go with it would be two really good things to have in mind. And then kind of working backwards to be like, what are the small little details that you need to be doing to actually get to that goal?
Okay, which is, well, here comes to the part two of my question. Well, part of my question. So when you said like you need to have a vision, but did you knew what you wanted to start off? Like, because you said you didn't know that you wanted to do start up an agency. So like how did you know that, like, how did you come up to that vision? Because vision is obviously, you said, is the first step. Like, what do you want to do, right? How did you know like what business or what product or service? Because like in terms of Kate, she's like doing a service space, right? She's empowering all of us. So that's kind of like a service. And same thing with you, you're doing a service. So if how did you, or like if Kate wants to jump in too, how did you guys know you wanted, like, this is what I want to do, like first step? Because like when I approached her, it was me and my husband both, as Kate called, power couple. I don't know if we are yet. We are
Yes,
just
you are.
a little kid, like as we're just newborns right now, and we're just gonna take our first step or get 1 year old kind of thing like that.
Yeah.
Um, so how did you know, like, how did you came up to your vision? Like, okay, I want to do agency. Like,
Mhm.
how did you
Yeah.
come to that step? Because that's your first step, right? Which you said, develop a vision. But how
Yeah.
did you even get to that? I would like to know
Yeah.
that process or your thinking behind it. Like, how did you came to that first step? Okay, I want to set up an agency to help other businesses. Or let's say if you weren't in a agency owner and you were selling a product, what would be the first thing that will come to your mind? Like, this is the product I want to sell.
Hmm. Yeah. So in my mind, like, so what kind of even started before deciding what business I was going to have or what service I was going to provide or anything like that was my personal goals. So like my personal goal is freedom. I want time freedom and I would like financial freedom. I want to be able to like I want to be able to have whatever I want, whenever I want, wherever I want. I want to have complete freedom. And you will find most entrepreneurs too, when you ask them what they really want, is it's time. Especially once, there's larger money involved. I think that everyone, like, the most important thing really is time. So everything before I even started thinking about business, I did a lot of like personal development work and stuff like that. And I realized that like my main goal is freedom. And then so I kind of like started working backwards and was like, hey, so like, how can I achieve that? I always knew that I wanted to build something pretty big. I have big goals for my agency and I do want to build it into kind of like an empire. And so I needed to think of, types of businesses that I could scale to that level. Some people might be completely fine with having like a one-man show or something where, it's a passion project and you're kind of just like selling a product that's, handmade or whatever. And whatever that is like super cool. For me personally, I knew I wanted something on a pretty big scale. And so I started thinking of things that I could scale quickly. For me personally, I also had gone to business school and had a marketing background. So obviously that came in super, super handy. But I really was thinking, I'm like, what skill sets do I already have? I think that the more things that you look at that you already enjoy doing, but are also like skilled at, are really good things to take note of and see how you could monetize them. And obviously also too, like if there are skills that you don't have yet, but you think you'd really enjoy a certain area of work or whatever, there's so many ways to, there's honking outside. I thought that was a fire alarm in here. We're good. There's obviously a lot of ways to learn skills extremely fast and extremely affordably these days. Like YouTube, amazing. Like anything like that, I would highly, highly recommend. But I think the biggest thing is figuring out like what do you want in general? And like that's on a life level, not even just a work level. And then think of what scale you need to build something to. think of what you're passionate about, think of what your skills are. And honestly, just think of something that like you'd really enjoy doing every day, because at the end of the day, you know, you want, like, sometimes I do work a lot of hours, you know, in building phases and stuff like that. But if I can, Kate is, she doesn't like when I do
A
that.
little bit. 24 hours a day. I'm like, do
I
you
know.
sleep? Lots of coffee?
Lots of
Yeah.
coffee, energy drink at 8 p.m. But yeah, but anyways, if you can go to bed, you know, every single night and just feel very fulfilled, and like, you know, like I will work 14 hours, but I still go to bed like so like proud and confident and just happy. I really enjoy getting up every single day and doing the work that I do. And I think that if you can find something that's like that and monetize it, that's the way to do it, in my opinion.
I just want to share on that too, Sylvia, is that we just have to remember that there's no perfect straight arrow line. And like before, when I left my corporate job, I did multi-level marketing. I did Arbonne, and it was because I saw it as an opportunity to make money where I was my own boss. And then through that, I started working out all the time, and I started to love it. And everybody's asking me to train them. So then I went and became a trainer. And then I went through all of the programs and I got a whole client base. And then I realized, oh, I don't like training other people. It's ruining my workouts. I need to stop training other people and focus on my own stuff again. But I wouldn't have known unless I tried that that was the wrong direction. I knew I wanted to help people. I know I wanted to empower people. And everybody I coached was like, Kate, you know, you're just so good for my mindset. When I leave here, I feel so good. Like, I feel like you're going to get hints and tips along the way. And then each time you learn something new that you like, you just grab hold of it and you find a way to incorporate it in what you're doing. Like, you could create a business that doesn't exist right now when you put your beautiful skills with your husband's beautiful skills. You guys might create something that was unexpected. So, like, when Brynn's saying set your vision, it's really like the vision of like, what makes me happy? What am I naturally good at? What would I do anyway? Like, if money wasn't a thing, if I didn't have bills to pay, I would still be doing this every single day, hands down. I'd still be going to coffee shops to try to find people to talk to about them and learn all about them because people are fascinating. So I think that we can't get hung up on, I had this one idea, it's either success or failure, and it means something about me. It's all about exploring. And if you have an idea of what you want to do, I would go and find other people who do it and say, can I chat with you? Just like, what do you love about what you do? What would you say is the biggest downside to what you do? And do your research. And you could even do other like provinces, other cities, other places, and just see, because business owners want to help other people succeed. It's not, people like always think it's competition. It's not. If you're talking to the right people, they want you to succeed. And they're willing. And then that might tell you like what you care about, what you don't. If they're telling you, oh man, I'm working 24 hours a day, you know, I can't hire, it's hard to hire for this with with minimum wage. Just all information gathering for you before you make your decision. But I also agree with starting with yourself and figuring out, what do you love most about yourself? What are your natural gifts that everybody says, like, I love this about you? Like, what do you hear all the time? That's all hints to what you were meant to do, I think.
Yeah,
and I think
100%.
Inflection points, if you've had a challenge in your life that you overcame, that's often something guiding you towards what you should be serving, like how you should be giving back. And we talked about that, right? With moving and with families coming into a new country and people trying to acclimatize and get support. That helps feed you in how you could support that community because you care about them, you know, other people who are coming. But that's a really great question about, nobody's vision is crystal clear. It's just like getting an idea. Where am I going? Does that help?
Totally.
Yes. Sorry, I was just so in it, engrossed in it. So like I'm like lost. As you're still waiting.
Amber, did you have a question too? I saw you earlier.
Yeah, so I kind of had like two questions, and one of them partially got answered. But first of all, I think your story is awesome, Brynn. It's really inspiring for me to see another person close to my age, I'm 20 right now, who's able to have such success and own her own business. Like, that's awesome. Go you. And so my first question I was going to ask was about the initial stages of what were your first steps, first priorities. And I think you touched on that a little bit. But also, I'm curious about kind of the self-development work, the mindset work more, and like if you intentionally adopted any beliefs, or if there was a major thing that you realized was holding you back, and once you shifted that, you were really able to step into your power. I'm just curious about the self-development mindset aspect of it as well.
Yeah. Well, first of all, for being 20, you are extremely well spoken. So I know you're going to do incredible things. That's just like to start.
You.
Wow. And yes, there was a lot of personal development that went into things. I'd say I started probably about 6 months before I really like got into business. And doing some of that was really one of the reasons why I started my agency. I think that one of the biggest things that I did that honestly single-handedly changed my life was clearing limiting beliefs. I actually did a course. I think it was, I can't even remember what her name was, but I bought a course. It was like way more than it should have been, and like how much I should have been spending at that age. I think it was like $3,000, and I was like 19, and I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll buy this. Looking back, I'm like, probably wasn't, whatever. I mean, I guess it did something, but anyway. In it talked a lot about limiting beliefs, and there's a lot of stuff that we all come up with. I mean, everyone here probably knows this, as you know, we're all with Kate, but everyone develops and grabs a lot of stuff growing up through childhood, through family, just through the people that you're around. Even if they're not trying to put it on you like intentionally, you just grab it. So I found that there was a lot of limiting beliefs that I had in my mind. Growing up, I grew up in a very like comfortable household, but for some reason, my parents always told me that the happiest people make $70,000 a year. And although, that's a great number to have, like there's nothing against that, but in my mind, I was like, you know what, if I can do this, I will be extremely successful. And what I realized as I started getting into business is that, that was actually holding me back, and that was actually blocking larger amounts of money. So there's a lot of stuff like that that I really came to learn, especially money-wise. I think that was probably like one of the biggest things, but clearing limiting beliefs is a huge thing. And I think honestly, just like finding yourself and finding confidence in yourself was also like a really big thing. I wanted to start this business because I didn't want to have to rely on someone else to live the lifestyle that I wanted to have. So coming into power with that and doing that work, I think was really big. There's one book, I can't remember, I think you guys might actually maybe have read it or not now. I told Gia and Kate about this before, but Change Your Paradigm, Change Your Life by Bob Proctor.
That's what we're reading right now.
Are you? Oh my gosh. Okay. I should go in the group more.
Yes.
That was one of my recommendations. That book was, I think it was the first one that I ever read in like the personal development realm, and it definitely opened my eyes. I think with that work, I really just realized that, we're all in complete control of our reality. Like it's obviously like, I don't want to say this like too broadly because obviously it's touchy, but like even just complaining about things can be like, honestly, none of us should be, because we all have in some way impacted where we are. But that also means that we can change absolutely anything about our environment and our surroundings and our life. So in one way, obviously you can take it as it is, but it's really cool to know that like you can create exactly what you want your life to be like. I can't even remember what your initial question was, but I hope that kind of answers it.
Yeah, no, that was awesome. Thank you. Yeah, because obviously if we're here on this call, we're all exploring our limiting beliefs and
100%.
Self-development work. And I'm curious how you would say the people around you while you were building this business reacted, and if you felt like you had other like-minded people, if people offered a lot of resistance, or just if the type of people in your life started to shift when you started to shift. I'm curious about that as well.
Yeah, that's a very, very good question. So I don't know if you've ever heard this before, but I find a ton of truth in it. But the 5 people that you spend your most time with will dictate exactly how you are. So I took that very seriously when I heard that the first time, and I realized how much truth there is behind it. You know, if you're around people who are constantly complaining, you know, saying things like, I'm broke, I'm not good enough, I'm fat, I'm ugly, the chance of you becoming successful, feeling beautiful, feeling confident and empowered is very, very unlikely. You know, you'd have to have an incredible mindset to, you know, break out of that when that's all you're hearing every day. So I'm very, very picky with the people that I spend my time with now. But starting out especially, so I knew basically no one in business. My parents are both not in business. At the time I was in a relationship, and outside of that person, I didn't really like see any friends or have anything like that. So I really was kind of like in it on my own. And honestly, now, like, it would be so, like, looking back, I wish I had more of those people to look up to. My life though completely changed last April, and it was because of the people that I was surrounded with. Kate's probably heard the story a million times, but when, like, last April, so I basically manifested a ticket to this founders dinner in Toronto. I was not supposed to be invited to this dinner. Everyone at the dinner had to be making at least $5 million a year. I have no idea how I got on this invite list, but a couple weeks before, I told my mom, I was like, one day I will be attending one of these dinners. And at the time, my business was not doing like anything too crazy. Anyways, I somehow got an invite slide into my email. It was a very exclusive dinner. And right then I booked my flight to Toronto, and I was like, screw it. Like, there's like, I'm going to this dinner. Like, this is crazy. And as I was there, also randomly, I was supposed to I literally just flew there for the dinner, was supposed to fly back the next morning. I made friends with 3 entrepreneurs that basically hosted the dinner. So like, they're like pretty much like top dogs. They were all like kind of in their mid to late 20s. And they were like, hey, Brynn, do you want to like come to our cottage in Muskoka and hang out with us with like 10 other entrepreneurs for the weekend? I'm like, yep, of course I do. So I did that. And then I got back on the Monday, and they're like, hey, do you want to just like hang out with us in our really nice house in a nice neighborhood of Toronto for the week and work with us? I'm like, mm-hmm. So that week I was exposed to one person had just made an exit of a company that was sold for $50 million. Another girl owns a marketing agency. I think she's 26. And they do probably about like $7 million a year. Another guy probably makes about $15 million a year. And these are all just people in their 20s. And
Yes.
Yes.
Can I just stop you for 1 second? I just want to tell you, from her taking that leap of faith, she was normalizing millionaires.
Yeah.
She was around the people, witnessing it, experiencing it firsthand. Because if you talk to somebody who's never had that experience that Brynn's had, they might roll their eyes. They might be, yeah, sure you did, or sure they did. That's the problem. You're not around big thinkers, you're not around people, and you want to acclimatize yourself to them.
Yeah.
I'm 100%. Sorry, you keep going.
No, you're good. That's a very good point. But basically during that week, what I really realized is there's a couple of big takeaways, and this will really impact you, Amber, too, especially like at your age. One thing that was mentioned is, so one of the guys, actually the guy who just sold the company for 50 million. So I'm sitting on their couch, there's just like a bunch of us around. They're like, Brynn, like, how much are you doing in your business right now? And I think it was like $8,000 a month or something at the time. And he was like, holy shit, that's amazing. And at first I was like, what do you mean that's amazing? Like, you just sold a company for $50 million. Like, who are you telling me that I'm amazing being this 21-year-old sitting on your couch doing $8K a month? And he was like, Brynn, when I was 21, I was like mopping puke at bars. I didn't start this company until I was like 25. And then he did this growth phase, but he's like, you are so much further ahead than I was at 21. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, I was like, wow, like, I guess you're technically right. But it was very opening to be like, holy crap, like, I mean, this person's like, I have so many years on them essentially, in terms of that, which was really, really cool to think about. And to have that like confirmation from them was like really cool. But then another thing that I realized that week as well is, especially if you haven't been around that level of success, and it's not all about money. So like those are just some of the like the benchmarks that, you know, come to mind. But when you haven't been around people at that level of success, you know, a lot of people just think of them as, you know, they're not real people, or they're operating at some crazy level. And it's really, really hard to think of yourself in their position. And in that week, I realized how like completely normal they are. Like they're all, you know, just like you and I. They've just, you know, had some success. They've worked hard and they've hit their goals. But, you know, even just looking at their day-to-day, I realized that like my day-to-day is the exact same. Like I work the same amount of hours as them. I'm doing all the same things. And that really, really opened my eyes to realize that like, you know, they've just had a buildup of more time and, you know, more energy put into it. And so, you know, if I keep on the trajectory that I'm on, you know, there's no way of failing basically. But to kind of go back to your question, the people that you're around are like, it's so impactful to how you end up. And I will also say you might be in a similar situation, but I had lots of, you know, friends and stuff like that from high school, or just, you know, growing up or whatever, that I've really had to limit my time with. You really have to be impactful about what other people value and what their goals are. And it doesn't mean that you have to cut these people out completely, but be very, very conscious about who you're spending your time with, and, you know, even how they would speak about you if you weren't in the room. Because there's a lot of people, it's actually, I've seen this a lot. A lot of people want to see you win, but they don't want to see you do better than them. And if you start doing better than them, they're not going to be on your side. So yeah, that's my
In some cases.
In some cases, yes. Is everyone like that? No. But the people that are like that, you don't want to be around.
Yeah. Not to be surprised by it. But
Yeah,
I like
exactly.
there's so much great information, and it's no surprise, Brynn, that you are having success at your age and that it's only going to grow. But we also have to get rid of the idea that it's going to take time, because we know that you meet one person and they could change the trajectory of your life. You could have one
100%.
experience and it changes the trajectory of your life. It's about exposing yourself to the opportunities every chance you get. Like, I was watching, again, I talked about this, but Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett's best friend, he said most people in life get 5 big opportunities handed to them. They could take and change their life, but fear, doubts, worry have them pass it up. And he said, if you think about you're only going to get 5, are you going to take it when it's offered to you? And he said that he and Warren believe that I don't know baseball references, but I think it's like you hit to the bleachers, or you go for the fences. You go for the home run. Oh, every time. And he said even the top hitters in baseball, they're not trying to hit a home run every time, but they are the ones who wait for the right opportunity and they take it when it comes. It's no different than us. And so Brynn's story is amazing. And this is why I'm telling you, being part of this community, energetically, you're here because you guys have a connection. There's no coincidence that we're all here. So take it as a compliment if you're inspired by Brynn's story, because it means that you have an inspiration and that you are an inspiration to someone else. You're going to be the one sharing like Brynn is. And the beautiful thing is, when you have a beautiful soul like Brynn, she wants that success for you. She's wanting to share it with you. Like, even talking tonight, she's like, ask me anything you want, Kate. I'm an open book. Like, she wants people to know that. And so this 100%. Is the whole thing. Nobody's going to have here's the first step for you and your life dream. It's that you've got to do the work. And so Brynn's a beautiful example of somebody doing that work. And I'm really excited about your agency and just knowing the big goals that you have going on and the stuff that you're doing. But you also took chances, and you also had faith in yourself, which is huge. Yeah. Gia, did you have any questions for Brynn?
No, she actually answered the Amber asked one of the questions that I was going to ask, pretty much about what you did regarding the people in your life. And that was my main question, is like, yeah, pretty much like you answered everything, because I wanted to know how you overcame like negativity when it came to other people putting out that energy towards you and stuff. But you did wonderful, and you answered everything that I was wondering. So thank you for everything.
I just
One
want to
thing
say one more
oh, go for it.
I just want to say one thing, and I this makes me feel like the old woman in the room because I say it to my kids, but I always say that people have to earn access to you. So I feel like a lot of women are taught like be polite, be kind, always be friendly. And I'm pretty positive because we're all here that you guys have this similar personality trait that you want to make the other person feel comfortable. You want to make the other person feel good, heard, seen, and that we are like that naturally. But the one situation there is that sometimes that can be misinterpreted that you like I don't know, that your value isn't as important as theirs. You're putting yourself beneath them, like their comfort and their feelings are more important. And all I'm going to say is people have to earn access to you. So if you know somebody's got a poor attitude, they're going to always come and just vent or dump on you, or they're always going to be talking about somebody's behind their back to you. You know, how people do some things is how they do everything. So when people are showing you their true self, believe them and don't think that it's a different situation with yourself. And you need to start having boundaries. And I've told this story to many of you on different one-on-one calls. I set a boundary with family members. I set a boundary with best friends. I've lost friends, but I stuck to my values and my integrity. I was never rude or inappropriate. But when I started doing that, the level of people that I drew into my life, the women who came in who were like, I'll only treat you like a queen, Kate, nothing else. It was amazing. So don't fear what you're going to lose. Get excited about what you're going to attract when you start having your own standards.
Yeah. Yeah. And even to add to that too, you know, having this community is something that I wish I would have had when I started as well. I went through the same thing where, you know, I started becoming very, very picky with who got access to my time, but that did mean that I went through a very lonely chapter. Like I said, I didn't have many people around that were like-minded, that were in business, anything like that. But like, so obviously you guys already have a step up, you know, like you're already ahead having a community of people who are like-minded. But also I think that there is, it's almost in a sad way, like you almost have to normalize that there are parts that are going to be a little bit lonely. And I can speak of that from experience because not everyone wants to work on themselves and not everyone wants to be the best version of themselves. There's a lot of people that they're fine, you know, living their life kind of going along with like the Matrix, you know, and if that's the way that they want to live their life, that's totally cool. But separating yourselves from those people because you're meant for so much more is so important. But yeah, having a group and a community already is like, it already puts all of you guys, you know, so many steps ahead of where I was starting out. And, you know, it's something that I wish I could have had starting out as well.
Kate, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Is there room for one small question or no?
Yep. Well, yep, absolutely.
Okay, I know we're running into the time. I just want to have one quick question for Brynn. One of them was like, how did you get people to know what you started? Like, how did you get people to know that these are the services you provide?
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. So because of the group of people that I had around me at the time were not super supportive and kind of just like made fun of me for starting a brand new Instagram and all that sort of stuff. I honestly didn't have, I mean, my family was very supportive, but they didn't know anyone to connect me with and stuff like that. So I really was out on my own for that. I was very nervous, putting my services and myself out and my business out at first, because I was almost embarrassed by it. You know, starting something small can, I was basically just embarrassed to not be like, hey, I don't have this huge following and all these clients and all that right off the get-go. With that though, like to give you like, I'll try to sum this up quickly, but I started posting on Instagram. I had, you know, people making weird comments being like, oh, what are you doing? Like, whatever. And I remember TikTok really, really intimidated me. And I was super scared of making videos on there or talking into my camera. If you, I mean, I'm not recommending you do this because it's really cringy, but if you scroll way down on my TikTok or Instagram, I probably am talking a lot different than I am now because I was literally horrified of speaking on camera. Like it was my biggest fear. So filming a TikTok and posting my face with it made me like want to throw up. Eventually though, and I was also just worried about what other people thought. You know, even though those people literally, I couldn't even think of some of their names now because they're so long gone. I was very, very consumed by like what people thought of me. And eventually, I started posting on TikTok. I just like took the leap and I'm like, this is super embarrassing, but I'm going to do it. And anyways, one video blew up and that was actually kind of the start of the success for my business. So that is how I got my services out there. But it really was doing something that I was super uncomfortable doing and was embarrassed by, and I thought people were going to judge me for. But it really, like, without that video, I had like one client for the longest time and I didn't know how to find anyone else. So doing the things that make you uncomfortable always end up in growth.
The reason why I asked that question was because you said you were heavily believe on Instagram, and so like that's like, because Instagram is like a lot of platforms are on there too, like they interact with other stuff too. So that how do you know, or how do you stand out on it, like that kind of platform? That's why I'm asking basically, like how did you get people to know, okay, hey guys, I'm starting an agency, look what I'm doing on Instagram.
I get what
You know,
yeah.
does that make sense what I'm trying to ask? Like, how do you get like basically attract people, like attract us to our services, like how Kate attracted basically us.
Yeah.
Technically.
Kate, do you wanna...
Can I try to answer, because I want to see if Brynn would give me a good grade for this?
Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Okay, so I think what Brynn would say is that you need to figure out who your ideal client is and just like know everything about them, and then you're really finding them. So it's not about telling everybody. It's not about the fact of just getting your name out to everyone who will hear. It's about who do I want to serve, getting to know them really intimately, and then looking for that person. What platform is that person on? Like, where did they go? What do they normally do in lieu of what I'm offering? I think that's what she would say, is that you've got to know that person. It's not just about the general, like letting everybody know.
Hmm.
I'm
What
so
do you
proud
think,
you've been
Britt?
listening to your meetings. A+. I love it. But yes, 100%. Like knowing who your target audience is a huge, huge, huge thing. So that's like super big. Another thing that I want to mention on that too, though, so like for example, even with myself, you know, there's a million marketing agencies out there. I couldn't even name all of them because honestly, I don't pay attention to competition because I'm like, whatever, like they're out there, they're doing their thing. Cool. Especially when you are at all behind your brand. Like, for example, like a lot of people even know my brand for my name and not even my agency's name. But it really is just like showing up authentically. Like if you go on my, like I actually have a lot of people, I'll get on a discovery call with them and they're like, oh, you're just like you are on social media. I'm like, yeah, like I'm not going to put on a certain hat for like this call or for so like I'm me, right? But I think that at the end of the day, like the biggest thing that you can differentiate yourself by is literally being you. Like no one else is you, no one else has your same personality, no one else has your same beliefs. And so if you can reflect that through, obviously this is kind of like business dependent. This is more like if you're showing up as yourself, but you know, that's a great differentiator right there that you don't even have to think about. Like if you just show up authentically as you every single time, you're already different than every single one of your competitors.
Like what like what I meant is, like, you know, I'll take Kate's example, you know, how she said like she wants to empower others. So she was she obviously Kate can jump on this. She was searching like, okay, okay, this person wants to start, like for us as example, they want to start a business. Okay, well okay, so let me help them, right? So she knows who she wants. But how do you get to that point though? Like how do you know, like this is my niche audience, or like this is my niche clients? Like did you know like this is the business owner you wanted to work with? Like, you know how you said like you made a video on TikTok and then you got a client, but did you know you wanted to work with them? Like, how do you know, like,
Yeah.
kind of like, how do you put a searching hat? Oh, these are the people I should probably look into or talk to. Like, how do you know, like, they could be are they trustworthy, like, or are they actually the ones I want to work with, or I want to sell my product to them? Like, how do you
I think
know?
you're asking a lot of different types of questions at the same time because it's a bit
I
about like trusting them too.
Yeah. To sum it up though, honestly, like I think I can't give you an exact thing to do, but like for example, I think this is honestly just something that does come more natural to me because it's literally marketing. Like my agency, for any new client, we do a target market analysis. So I to give you the whole breakdown would like take a lot of time, but basically it is about finding, well, first of all, like whatever, like I can't speak to anything specifically for you because I don't know what business you're looking at, but whatever it is, there's obviously research that you can do just in the industry in general to see like who's the typical consumer of this product or service. And then like, let's say you're providing a service, you could be like, well, who do I like working with? Do I like working with both men and women? Do I like working with more one or the other? Do I like working with people who are younger or older? Or do I need people that are specifically in my city? Or can I work with anyone from anywhere around the world? There's so many ways to break that down. It is honestly about a lot of research, and like marketing is like a really big thing that ties into that. So there's not really like a one size fits all specific answer that I can give you to that. But honestly, it's a lot of research about the industry and who's typically served, and then figuring out who feels most authentic for you personally to be doing that with.
I think too, it starts with like you have to be comfortable making decisions. So
Oh,
it's
100%.
just you deciding who you want to work with. Because I think if you asked yourself, you would know.
Yeah,
Who do you like to work with? Who do you feel like you understand and know? And something that I'm just learning about, I feel like men are taught this a little more. What would make me the most money? What clients would make me the most money? Because sometimes when we go like heart-led and we go to like more charity type thoughts in our mind of how we want to give back, you're immediately hurting your business. So you want to do kind of a full circle, like, okay, who do I love being around? What is a community I want to be involved with? Where is there gaps in the current industry? So CB, just really quickly, I know we're over time right now, guys, if anybody has to hop off, but Brynn, her business is looking into branding. So it would be more like physical product branding. So what it would be, to me, I would look for gaps in the current market. I would look for anywhere that there is branding right now and then do research on how much money do they make, what's their overhead.
Yeah, 100%.
But something drew you there in the first place. So really follow that trail too of like what drew you to thinking this is going to be a good idea. But I think you just got to make decisions, and then you serve that client. You're like, whoa, nope, that's not who I want to work with. Pivot, pick a different kind of client.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And this group, like in our feed, if you're thinking, okay, I've got it down to these two groups, or I have a question about, and like put it out there and everybody can put like what they would suggest or what they would do or what they think. And then you can kind of feed off of everybody's experience through every
100%.
step. That's why this is like a mastermind. Everybody's here to help everybody.
Yeah.
Just because we're over time, I'm going to bring this to a close, but remember, we're in this community together forever. So if you have any questions after this, you can just tag Brynn, even in Mighty Networks, and I can let her know too. She's not in there often enough with us, but then we can all get in there and help each other out. And Brynn, you are an angel. Thank you so much for hopping on and sharing your brilliance with us.
Thank you for having me. It was nice to go through.
I know how valuable your time is, and I know in the growth mode that you're in, so this means the world to me. And I'm so grateful for all of you ladies to be on, because I'm proud of each of you too, and I'm excited for you to all meet. Let's keep this going. Let's keep showing up. We're going to get those other ladies to get on as well. But yeah, if any questions come up after this or things come up, or if you want to talk more to Brynn about her personal services that she offers, we'll put that with the recording in the Mighty Networks. And then we're also going to share it on YouTube so that it'll be accessible whenever, if you want to watch it later on. So then we can put your contact information on there, Brynn.
Yeah,
about
perfect.
your
But yeah, just in
business.
general too, like if you guys ever have anything that you want to chat through, I mean, like I said, like my schedule is kind of crazy sometimes, but like I do really like being an open book, and people who are actually like very interested in learning or developing, like I'm literally happy to share whatever I possibly can with you. So like always feel free to contact me or anything like that. And if I don't answer in one spot, try another, because I probably just didn't see it. I never tried it, but I do get a lot of messages. So but yeah, like 100% I'm more than happy to keep the conversation going. And if anyone ever wants like guidance or support or anything on that side either that I could answer, like I'm always more than happy to do that.
Okay. And because this is going out to public, I just want to say the facilitators, the people who are speaking at these Pull Up a Seat series are going to be members of our community. So they are different women who are following their mission in life, and they are showing up and they are having their impact. And it's just sharing where they're at in their journey and any lessons learned that they have and what kind of expertise they can share with the world. So as members, be prepared for an outreach from Gia, setting up your date to come and talk to us about your area of expertise. And for those looking at this as an opportunity to join a community where entrepreneurs help each other, or where women help each other through all of the different things life throws at us, come and join us, because we want to hear your voice. And again, I can't say it enough. Thank you so much, Brynn. Thank you, ladies, for being on. I love you all so much. And I know your husband is sneaking over to the side, so you tell him that we say hello to him too. Hello. I'm so glad you're here. All right, so we're going to lock this down, and then Gia will share this recording a little bit later, probably tomorrow sometime. But thank you for your time, ladies. Have a great night.
Thanks so much, guys.
Bye.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Thank you for this. This was awesome.
Awesome.